we know how to use the zero product property, we're ready to start looking at how to solve quadratic equations by factoring. First we'll look at the basic process, then we'll practice actually solving a few of them. How do we solve by factoring? It's really just a simple three-part process. First, get everything on one side of the equation so it's equal to 0 and the x squared is positive. Next, factor the quadratic. This is why we want to make sure the x squared is positive when we get the equation equal to 0, because the factoring is much easier this way. Finally, use the zero product property to find the roots of the equation. For our first example, let's follow the steps to solve the equation x squared plus 4x equals 12. First, let's get it equal to 0. X squared is already positive, so we want to get everything with it on the left side of the equation. If we subtract 12 from both sides, we end up with x squared plus 4x minus 12 equals 0. Next, we need to factor this trinomial. Remember that a trinomial will factor into two binomials, but we need to find factors of the constant term that add up to the coefficient of the middle term. In this case, we need to find factors of negative 12. Negative 1 and 12, 1 and negative 12, negative 2 and 6, 2 and negative 6, negative 3 and 4, or 3 and negative 4. We want the pair of factors that will add up to plus 4, so we'll use negative 2 and positive 6, and our equation is now x minus 2 times x plus 6 equals 0. We can now use the zero product property to find the roots of the equation. The first factor, x minus 2, will equal 0 when x equals positive 2. And the second factor, x plus 6, will equal 0 when x equals negative 6. So our roots are x equals positive 2 or negative 6. For this example, negative 7x plus 6 equals 3x squared, we again need to get it equal to 0. Even though there are two terms on the left and only one on the right, remember we want to keep the 3x squared positive, so we're going to leave it there on the right and add 7x to both sides, then subtract 6 from both sides to get 0 equals 3x squared plus 7x minus 6. Notice everything's on one side and the x squared is positive. Our next step is to factor 3x squared plus 7x minus 6. Remember we have to be careful factoring when we have a coefficient other than 1 in front of the x squared. First, we'll multiply the negative 6 by 3 to get x squared plus 7x minus 18 and put a 3x in both sets of parentheses. Now we'll need to find the factors of negative 18, negative 1 and 18, 1 and negative 18, negative 2 and 9, 2 and negative 9, negative 3 and 6, 3 and negative 6. We want the factors that will add up to a positive 7, so we need to use the negative 2 and positive 9, making our factors 3x minus 2 and 3x plus 9. But don't forget we're not done factoring yet. In order to complete the process, in this case, we do need to reduce whichever factor has a common factor. So notice that in the second set of parentheses, 3 and 9 are both divisible by 3. So we're going to eliminate that 3 to get our final factorization for the equation. 0 equals 3x minus 2 times x plus 3. 3x divided by 3 was the x, and the plus 9 divided by 3 gave us the plus 3. We can finish solving the equation now by using the zero product property. Remember the pattern for finding roots. X equals the opposite of the constant over the coefficient. Using this, we can see that the roots are x equals positive 2 over 3, or negative 3 over 1, which is just negative 3. For our last example, let's look at x squared plus 5 equals 2x squared minus 4x. We again need to get it all equal to 0, but in this case there are x squareds on both sides of the equation. Remembering we want to keep the x squared positive, we should always get everything on the side that has the most x squareds on it to start with. Since the left side has 1x squared and the right has 2x squared, we're going to subtract the 1x squared and subtract 5 from both sides to get everything on the right, which gives us 0 equals 2x squared minus x squared is just an x squared, minus 4x minus 5. This is a pretty easy one to factor because we need the factors of negative 5, which only has two possibilities, negative 1 and 5 and 1 and negative 5. 1 and negative 5 add up to the negative 4 we want, so we know the quadratic factors into x plus 1 times x minus 5, and that's equal to 0. Now that we have that, we can again use the zero product property to find the roots. X equals negative 1 and positive 5. We've now learned how to use the zero product property and how to solve quadratic equations. So try some of the activities to practice solving quadratics by factoring on your own.